once again, everyone, and welcome to Kaiso Talk. Well, last week we did not have a live program. I was off for the week last week, but nevertheless, we're back this week, and we do have another exciting one for you. This evening, we talking to not just Kaisonians, but mainly the focus would be on the writers of Kaiso. Now, a lot of times, we hear the Kaisonians, the ones who come out and they sing the Kaiso and they go on stage and they let go pick on and they say thing and they do thing and there are a lot of instances when they are not necessarily the writers of the Kaiso, but there are some guys, and when I say guys, I mean women too. So I'm just using that loosely. So it does involve, I'm including women there, who behind the scenes put pen and paper together and they create what we hear. So it's a lot of times it's a combined effort, and we get a product that we enjoy so very much. So tonight we're talking to writers of Kaiso. All right, Val is with me as always. Val, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, Godfrey. Good evening, Grenada. Good evening, P.T. Martini. Good evening to all where this program is being heard. Good evening to the two writers we have this evening. Good evening to everyone.
Yes, indeed. And we have with us from Trinidad, Mr. Larry Haywood. Larry, good evening and welcome to Kaiso Talk. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good evening to everyone. Nice being on the program. The privilege to be with you all, because I've been hearing about the program so much and I've been always wanting to come on, but I had the virus had passed, took hold of me, and but now I'm fully recovered, so I'm here with you all. Yeah. And I want to say it's a pleasure to Grenada and P.T. Martinique and all those who are across the globe listening to this program. I hope they enjoy it.
Wonderful. Now you mentioned that you're fully recovered, and that's good news. But we have a next gentleman. You have to be very careful what you say around him, because anything you say, the next thing you hear in a Kaiso about it. So don't surprise you if you hear a Kaiso name fully recovered. The man himself, former Calypso monarch, and of course in Grenada he's known as Mr. Satire. We're talking about the man Sean Niles. So Sapan, good evening. How are you doing, man? Welcome.
I'm all right, and Godfrey, thank you for having me. It's an honor. Larry and Val, it's a joy to have the lowest of all animals, a serpent among likes of you. And we also who love Calypso, listening everywhere, keep your ears open. And I think it'll be fantastic and very, very interesting.
Yes, indeed. And you can hear the kind of, you hear the language, folks, so you understand for yourself. I had to tell you anything. So we're talking Kaiso tonight, but before we get into the real talk, and Sapan, I'll come to you after. Larry, tell us a little bit about you. Who's Larry Haywood? Tell us, we Greta wants to know.
Well, I've been writing for a number of years, over 50.
Mm-hmm.
So that they always say that writers go through their first 100 songs with a lot of learning experiences. So I have passed that stage so many years ago, so that I have written more than my share, so to speak. I have had success in the seniors, in the juniors, in the soca, and I've had 4 senior monarchs quite recently, Dwayne O'Connor, Chucky, these guys.
Okay.
I've had over 10 junior monarchs, 10 national queens. I've had success of the islands as well. I've written for people in Grenada, St. Vincent, Antigua, and I have been successful. So I come here with a wealth of experience, so that you can judge for yourselves.
Right, good. Well, now I know for certain I'm singing Kaiso because at least I guess we have a successful writer here. So but look out, they're coming.
That's fantastic. That's good. I hope Larry is not trying to take some of my performance here. That kind of resume that he put forward there puts a challenge to me at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So let me protect Big G and all who are writing for tell them to shut down the program.
All right, Sapan, let's come to you, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. I mean, although yes, we're familiar with Sapan, but I'll tell you this. Some weeks ago, we had Papa Jerry on the program, and we had asked Jerry to share with us a little bit about himself. And let me tell you something. I've known Jerry for a long time. And some of the stories he shared, I was amazed. There were things I never knew, about the man and some of the struggles in the art form and all of that. So I'm going to ask you to do the same. We know Sapant, but tell us a little bit about Sean Niles.
Well, Sean Niles is a lover of calypso. But before that, I used to be a lover of cricket.
Right.
With everything to do with a ball. Sports, football, basketball, volleyball, tennis, just that. I mean, I don't look as a sportsman. But as far as I can remember, maybe as early as the age of 5 or 6, after listening to a Jamo and Black Wizard in the mid-80s, I told my mother one day, I said, Mommy, I could sing better than that. Right? Better Kaiso than that, and at that age. I said, boy, maybe I'll strip myself and go in the corner somewhere. Unfortunately, she died and never heard me sing a calypso. So my exploit started with extempo. My first song was done at Current Government School at age 9. It was a song entitled Mass Man, and during that time, I think the two Rush brothers were shot in Windsor Forest by some masked men. So I wrote a song called Mass Man, and it was just fun for me. I went to secondary school. I used to extempo a lot of extempo, and then somebody pushed me to get on the stage. And from the time I went on the stage, I did not look back.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of experiences, I mean, it has always been something fresh and something new. And as Larry said, every time you write a song, it's something new, it's a new experience. But in terms of challenges, just the basic stuff. You see, my expectations were not fantastic. Just to go out and give the best representation of yourself and compose the best Kaiso that you can at any given point in time. So, I've written for quite a bit of persons, and I always say, don't mention my name. So it's not. I know you know what Big G now because he has been the most successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been having junior monarchs even before my son. My son is 3 times junior monarch. I've been having junior monarchs before that. I've assisted big calypsonians in putting lines together and said, don't mention my name. So anytime you hear somebody say the mystery pen, it might point to me.
Right.
But I prefer if you not mention my name. Just do it for what it is, and that's it. But I enjoy calypso. I enjoy composition. I love satire. I love double meaning. I can't write the hardest thing for me to do is to write a street Kaiso.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, that's me. My focus now is on helping junior persons to learn the art of Kaiso writing and composition, staying on topic, staying on theme, developing concept rather than taking out topics and so on. So, in a nutshell, that's me.
Right, wonderful. So Val, you have 2 writers here. You can throw your balls at them.
We're in for quite serious or in-depth talk about calypso and calypso writing and so on, so that both Larry and Serpent have written for juniors and seniors. Larry, I would think the first time I probably heard your name, it was for juniors, and before you make that switch to writing seniors. So that you mentioned earlier on that you have written for a number of seniors. But tell Grenada, some of them now, because some of them are now senior people singing in Trinidad and Tobago, even winning monarchs and so on. But hear about them as junior artists and your compositions for them.
Karina, she's one of them.
Right.
When she won the junior monarch was my song.
Tell us the song too now. Yeah, let's let Grenada know the song.
Since you've been gone, she won more than one on one occasion the juniors. Chucky as well, but Chucky didn't win juniors, but he came through the juniors with me,
Right.
and he came up because as a school teacher, I only wrote for children at that
Right.
time. I never wrote for the adults. I was always told, hey, them adults don't pay, you know. So, but I took that with a grain of salt, and I continued to write for children. So I wrote for Destro when she was going to St. James Secondary, but she swung into soca. But she was singing calypso when she was small. All right, when she was in secondary school. I also wrote for Dwayne O'Connor when he won the Hunt Is On.
Right.
And when Chucky won twice with my songs.
So both Chucky's back to back. That was you.
Yeah.
Right.
And in when he won the Independence Monarch 50th anniversary, it was also me. So but I would want to agree with Serpent as well when he says don't mention my name. Because that is something that writers always have to be saying to some singers. Don't mention my name. Your name comes up too often, and sometimes it can be annoying. Some people say you write too much, and you're taking the spotlight. But I was once on stage, but I had stepped off of stage and I started to write. The last time I was on stage was 1990. I actually have a gospel calypso album that I did, and I toured the Caribbean with it. I came to Antigua, I went to Jamaica, I went to Barbados, I went to Grenada, I went to St. Vincent. It was a whole island hopping with this gospel calypso track and other people who sang gospel calypso at that time. But I stepped away from that, and now I'm writing full-time, both seniors and juniors. So that the wealth of experience I have would put me in a place where people will say, you're writing too much. Don't mention. Don't try not to mention your name. So I have a lot of songs that people don't even know I write. Sometimes it gets so bad that you have to even in competitions. You have to pass your singer straight, so that people would not know that you wrote for that person. Because if they really get to realize it, out of the competition, you have five songs here. It's a problem. It's a problem. I don't think it's a problem in the Caribbean, but it's a problem in Trinidad when you are writing too much.
Okay. And so, but let me say this. Feel free to, throw a question at Larry if you guys can also interact. We talk in Kaiso. So it's not, don't sit down and wait on me to ask questions. I want to hear what all you had to say as well. So you all could, of course, interact. You all are writers. So, yeah. So, but the same question that Val placed to Larry. Let's talk about you. And aside from your songs, I am not sure I know all who you write for. Of course, I know Big J, but we want to know.
I would want to maintain that level of secrecy, and for reasons Larry just sort of exposed there, because this year alone, I have my hands in about 11 calypsos.
Right.
This year alone, I have my hands in about 11 calypsos. Last year I had about a few. When I came second 3 years ago, Big J came third. He came third.
Right.
And I had somebody in the finals as well. So I kind of, I've worked with Big J extensively. I've worked with Royalty. I did Soca Ray's song this year. You know what? I told him to be secretive about it, not have to expose it. What the Junior Monarch Motis there? My first Monarch was with a child from St. David's called Delia. She won. She won about 10 years ago. So I've been assisting other person with lines and so on. I'm not asking for anything back for it. Just thing. So. Yeah,
aside from yourself, though, aside from yourself, have you written any other like Monarch songs that somebody won with, or?
No. But it's gonna happen soon.
Well, I figure so. Just a matter of time, yeah.
Yeah. Godfrey, I want to jump in here because, before we go on to ask both Larry and Serpent about other aspects of the writing, in terms of writing, and let me deal specifically with Trinidad, the ghostwriter. The ghostwriter is always the person in the back writing some really good songs, and name is not calling. And some of them did want their name to call. There's a story, not story, there's a fact in terms of Joker, the Veens, coming into town from the country and writing on a number of songs, passing cassettes on, let's say, on the Sparrow, and Sparrow singing his songs and making a name and not recognizing him. And he had to go, and he befriended a Bajan of the era called Bolong. And it is Bolong who accosted Sparrow and threatened him, to recognize the boy and pay him some money. Mm-hmm. So coming from that history, I think that it is important to remove the mask of the ghostwriter and get not just the recognition, but for posterity's sake, to have your name attached to certain work. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's easier said than done. Eh? I remember in the 50th anniversary in 2012, there were 10 finalists in that competition. I had 4. Christoph had 3. That's 7. Mm-hmm. The other 3 were independent. Aloes, Luther, and Heather McIntosh. When they found out that 2 writers had 7 songs in that final, they said it must never happen again.
Why?
But it's not
why not?
So it's not so much a song; it is the dominance that certain writers have that is troubling to other people. So that from that moment on, it would be nice to tell people how many songs you did for the year. As a matter of fact, I had to falsify my numbers of songs in Skinner Park this year, and tell them I had 3 when I had more than 3. Because you're marked.
Yes, Larry.
Mm.
But I mean, I don't understand it because look, so let's say you write a song and a couple songs you different artists singing. I think the success, what is seen out there depends a lot on the person delivering. I mean, if you don't have someone who can actually take that song and work it, and I mean, it's just a song. I mean, don't you agree, Sapan? Your thoughts?
What happens to without knowing who the writer is, the persons adjudicating might approach it differently. But from the time they know it is Godfrey writing all these songs, they would start to find conscious similarities between and among the various songs, from melody to the lyrics, right through, enunciation, everything. So once they know it's you, they start to, that song like him now. Hey, in truth, that is the man there. So Larry is right. If we continue, because for me, if I don't need to tell everybody I wrote for Big J or Roy or whoever it is, Apart from that, it doesn't do anything for me for my ego, but I think it's a wise decision not to, because you don't want the judges to say, well, oh God, another Serpent again, another Larry again, 10 in the final, 10 out of 12 in the final, 8 out of 10. So that is kind of protecting yourself and the artist as well.
But Val, listen,
I hear that. I think also, looking at the Trinidad space, I think that announcement or putting your name out there also has to do with how people calculate the winnings. That I think that is the really dominant thing, that people start to calculate.
They continue money.
Larry has written songs that place 1, 2, 5, 6. Look at how much money he makes.
And
that is where the trouble is. The trouble is not just that you write the song. The trouble is that people start to check your money. Mm-hmm. And they want to kind of restrict how much money or income you could make through writing. I think that therein lies the problem. What do you think, Larry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, at one Calypsonian one year saw me and said, I feel we should tax you, you know. You should. I think you need to tax you fella than them because you're like, kind of overdoing it. So that they are, I don't think they are pleased. I don't think they are pleased. But I think that I don't think people take their time. But I'm not being critical of writers, but I think that the art of Calypso, the start of Calypso, when you wrote a Calypso in the days of the colonial days, you couldn't call the colonial master name. Mm-hmm. You had to disguise what you are writing or singing about. And the art of the Calypso, the art of disguise. And I think that it calls for a lot of thinking to be able to bring a message across with a lot of disguising, you know, and people are not willing to go down that road. They say, nah. It's a bit of station where they say it's carnival time, everybody come out to enjoy themselves, they're drinking, they don't want to be able to bust their brain to understand what you're singing about. So come straight, start to bowl some street ball. You know, because
no spin bowling.
The art of writing. That was never the art of writing. That was never the art of Calypso. So that when somebody actually goes and think about what they're writing and try to put some artistic influence into it, I think they should be given some credit. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember Watchman. I would never forget this line. People were complaining about this leader of the NJAC. And in his Calypso, he said, don't bother them, they don't fall down on their own dagger.
Yeah.
And I found that was a very, very powerful line, well constructed, and should have been credited for it. But in this day and age, people are not doing that. They're not disguising, they're not making the effort. You know, sometimes when you do a song that calls for thinking at carnival time, you tell you, nah, man, I drinking my rum, I drinking my beer, not time for that at all. Come straight.
Just see what you're saying.
The art of this guy is being lost.
Right. So, but I think it's an excellent place for you to come in because I think when it comes to that kind of thing, you're the man. You've written, I probably can't remember, maybe with the exception of Ask Buju, most of your songs, you have to think about it and analyze it well. Very much to what Larry's saying.
Well, Larry, once Larry is there, you don't need any programmer because Larry's saying is echoing my sentiments, right? Because, I mean, I think Calypso is different to all the other genres of music. One, it has to make real practical sense in real time. And if not done in the language, in the original Kaiso language, with satire and double meaning and subtleness, then it's just another song. So it simply means that Usher could come and win a Kaiso Monarch in Trinidad, or Beanie Man could come and do it, right? So I am totally with Larry on that. A Kaiso has to be a Kaiso. The language, origin of Kaiso, has to do the same things to and about the master, without calling the master name. You understand? And we have lost that. I am keeping that up. Larry, first time seeing you, first time meeting you. I heard about you before. Brian is my good friend. Right, but it is crucial that part of the Calypso remains, or else Kaiso gone.
That's true. I agree. But and then too, the judges must encourage it. They must encourage it because if they don't, people are going to say I'm wasting my time. I remember writing a song for Calypsonian. The song was Barefoot, and he said that the Begonians prefer to walk barefoot in the sun than to put on our sandals. That is when they were rejecting the Sandals Hotel. And a judge said he is sure that song passed over judge's head.
Right.
An ex-judge said the reason why he did not make the finals because that song actually passed over the judge's head because they were looking at barefoot and what barefoot has to do with walking in the sun. But it was all about the Sandals Hotel that the Begonians prefer to walk barefoot in the sun than to put on our sandals.
Yes. But Larry, you know how that song just like that when you brought sandals here? Same thing, same pitch, everything. Yes, and it was the same concept because barefoot is what is creating the link between the people and the situation of Sanders. You understand? And then to just add to what Larry's saying, the Kaiso has to keep the same theme throughout. There was one calypso in Grenada that came second here, almost won the Monarch done by Beast called Keep Your Ass Quiet. Right? And I always contended that, hey, that song was pure vulgarity because it did not speak to an ass. It did not speak to a donkey. It did not give donkey a real persona, if you mean. Right? So from the time, if you're singing about keep your ass quiet, it has to be a donkey you're talking about. Right? But it went into the obscene now, keep your ass quiet. So there was no mention, after the first verse, there was no mention of the animal continuing in the song. So that gave the song an air of vulgarity after that. So the language, even if a man might have a nice concept, but he has to write, every verse he has to write to it. And if you don't write to it, then it falls by the wayside, in my view.
Yeah. So that you're saying that it has to be metaphor. And if it's not metaphor, then it doesn't work.
Of course.
But let me ask you something. Val, just before you...
questions.
Just before you go...
First one is probably thing. What then, based on what you're saying, what makes a good calypso? This is a question to both of you. What makes a good calypso?
And that one is for me.
Both of you. Yeah.
So go and go first.
Larry, go first. You've been writing long before I born. I'm 47. You do long.
What makes a good calypso? The topic, the way you handle the topic. All right. I love a lot of these guys because I believe that is the real art of writing calypso. Right. Although some people trying to say, I heard a big soca artist say soca and calypso, there's no difference, because he wants to blend one with the other, and if he does that, it simply means that Ras Sorti, I invented nothing if both of them are the same, so that certain concepts are going out there and confusing the issue, right? But calypso is quite different. What makes a good calypso? The message, the melody, the lyrical construct. Now, take for instance, I leave ing for soca artists. In other words, I don't rhyme walking with fighting. I leave that for soca artists. Let soca artists do that. But if I have to rhyme, I do internal rhymes. I would not rhyme with ing. I would not write walking with fighting, because I leave that for people who have just started to write. You know what I mean? But sometimes the concepts are so strong that people don't pay attention to rhyme schemes and how people write internally. That some people rhyme simple words, some people rhyme couplets. I remember doing when I did the Hunt Is On, I was doing quadruplets, 4 lines rhyming. That is something difficult to do for the average writer. But it shows your skill. When I did Chucky's 50 years old, I did quadruplets. I did internal rhyme. Sometimes I'm rhyming. Some people are feeling I am not rhyming the N word. I'm rhyming the word internally. So that with that kind of skill, if judges are paying attention to what you are doing, they'll say that you are doing more than the normal. You're not doing couplets and you're not doing ing, and you're not killing the Chinese man, which is happily, quickly. The Lee man. Everybody likes to rhyme with Lee. The Chinese man, quickly. Consciously, correctly. I think that weakens a song when you start to do that kind of thing. You have to come better than that.
Right. But let me ask this. And I hear what you say, and I totally agree with you. When you sit and you can, go through the calypso and understand what the artist or the writer is doing. But for, let's say, the average Kaiso listener, who understands that, a major part of Kaiso is being able to rhyme. So they must hear, as you said, the Lee and the whatever and whatever. Outside of that, how do you, as a writer or a calypsonian, presenting a calypso, appeal to the average calypso listener?
Well, that is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Godfrey, again, I want to agree. I'm not a very agreeable fellow, but I have to agree with Larry. But it has to be current, in my view.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be current, and you have to speak to the needs and the timing of whoever is listening or whatever community you're in. That's the first thing. But then you have to use the language of calypso, the melody. Now we have some melodies that are not calypso melodies. I don't know if I but I stand corrected with that. There are some R&B melodies that people throw in the Kaiso there. I mean, Kaiso is evolving, but I believe we should keep at least 80% of the original Kaiso vibe in the music. Creativity and originality, which I think are crucial, or else, as Larry said, the Kaiso will be nothing if it's not creative. Because then everybody can pick up a pen and just write anything, and it's a calypso. So one, it's supposed to be current, or relevant, and timely. Because I cannot come and write about the great flood of Noah now when a hurricane is going on, while a hurricane is going on, unless I put in a new age spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that makes it kind of has to be fresh. I mean, you told me that kind of I'm doing this year is fresh, it's new, never heard before, interesting. You know, and that's the kind of thing that I think we should encourage in the art form. That's what makes a good calypso, in my view.
Right, Larry.
Another thing I want to bring at this juncture. First, trying to continue in here.
That's okay.
But,
That's okay.
I think people. I've had singers who believe that performance. I've had people in organizations tell me this person could really perform. They do, and they seem to negate what they are singing because they are great performers. So they can take Mary Have a Little Lamb and perform it and win. So if you are giving performance top priority when you are doing a calypso and you are neglecting lyrical construct, you're neglecting lyric rhyme scheme, you're neglecting it because the person can perform. So that some singers now, they have reached a stage now, they tell you they don't need a good calypso. All they need is just calypso, and they are going to perform and they're going to win. And I find that very troubling.
But then again,
I am seeing this boy Ed Sheeran sit down on a stool and play a guitar and get 1 million views. Because the lyrics for them is more important and the melody is more important than performance. And I have a problem with this. You're singing about a quarry, you're bringing boulders on stage, and you're bringing this on stage, and you're bringing that on stage, and the song itself lacks substance, and you want to win. I have a problem with that.
Well, I was going to ask you that because
that one is for the judges.
Let me ask this because you mentioned performance, and I think that has to be put into perspective, because as far as I'm concerned, what is performance? When you speak of, when a man says, look, give him a song, you go and perform it, what is he really talking about? Jumping on stage and running here and organizing is that what it amounts to? Or there is more to it than use of the stage?
Well, and you're right, Godfrey, because if I'm singing a song saying, I'm blind to the facts that are presented to me today, it means I can't be moving around at will. If I'm singing a song saying that you knock the legs from under my feet or whatever it is, it means I can't move. If I tell you I'm standing up straight and tell you in your face that things are happening, it means I can't move. So again, Larry is correct. Performance has to be in relation to the song.
Mm-hmm.
And performance and delivery, I don't know if it means the same thing. But people are caught up, Larry, with sensationalism.
Yeah.
Sensationalism. So a man could whine, a man could say, I think the crowd laugh, and they go on with it. So they're getting the points for rendition, and I guess that's where performance will come. Rendition out my here is 15 points. So the points that they can give under the 50, they're taking that and putting it by the lyrics, putting it by the melody. So at the end of the day, a weak melody song or a weak song lyrically gets almost top marks because a fella whine or a fella getting a fella can perform, you could sing nice. and singing nice along with Kaiso.
I think that Shadow suffered for a number of years for standing up and behind a mic and singing it. Judging from how they were judging, he deserved more than what he got. But because he just stood up and sang, they considered he's not performing, but he's performing. You know.
But that's a point I'm making. That's what I'm saying. It hasn't put into perspective.
Yeah, they have lost the essence of calypso and the judging of it. That is why certain people are suffering, even though they have very, very strong songs and they have very good melody and everything, except that they're not moving about too much. You know, so it happens.
Right.
So I have a question now. The calypso, and this is specifically maybe a Trinidadian. So the calypso tent as an entertainment space is definitely no longer attracting the capacity of patrons that it used to, right? What do you think is responsible for that? And does the quality of the calypsos today have anything to do with it? So that's probably a bad question. Yeah. So that the tent is losing patrons, right? And what is responsible for it? And does the quality of calypso today has anything to do with it? So.
Okay, I think we got. Let me just take a look in this perspective. In days of old, a teacher came into a school, or a teacher in any school, especially a country school, and that teacher is the fountain of our knowledge, so that all parents listen to that teacher, all children listen to that teacher. But with the advent of information and knowledge coming out of our computer and our laptops and stuff like that, they no longer have that authority. So they don't listen to them the way they used to listen to them before. So I think messages that we are bringing as Calypsonians are already out there. It is just that we have to try now to swing it in such a way to make it interesting. You know, because I remember it's only when a Calypsonian sang in the 50s and the 60s, then you get to realize something happened. Or if you didn't buy the evening news. But now, as it happens, that's one of the reasons I feel somehow that the tent has lost its interest. And then people, in the society we live in now, we find that people have picked up other interests, and other people's culture has begun to develop. So you're not getting this all embracing one culture or one. In other words, the calypso genre was it. I remember Power singing Trinidad, the land of steel band and calypso. You can't say that now. You have to say the land of steel band, calypso, chutney, and soca chutney. You have to mention a lot of things when you're talking about Trinidad and Tobago, lest you offend. So the interests have diversified. So you find that people are no longer interested in just one thing, and you're fighting for the same space and the same patrons to come in. All right? So that's one of the reasons I feel the knowledge has started to expand, and also people's interests have waned and have gone in a different direction. Especially those who have the money now, they feel that they can find something else to entertain them. Secondly, I think that the calypsos at one time began to get kind of one-sided. If you understand what I'm saying? Started to get one-sided, and they were promoting that kind of thing, and some people got offended, and they decided, listen, that's it for us. You know,
you're talking about the political songs, right?
They developed their own thing. So these are the political songs.
Is it the political songs you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is it the political songs?
Yeah, it is the political song I'm talking about. So that they decided to develop their own thing. I mean, I remember having one of my singers. She told me she wanted to enter chutney. And she wanted to enter chutney. Yeah, sure. And I did a chutney for her, and she made the semifinals. But when she got there, the reception she got, I expected that to be kept, not she. Larry, there's someone watch me. Let's stop and watch me. I said, yeah, that's how I get into Trinidad and Tobago. Got this kind of division, you understand? And people have their own interests. And now soca has taken over, because in the days when I really discovered there was no soca, soca has taken over. And as I wrote this year, soca is mainly for entertainment. Now they want to challenge the Calypsonians to be as entertaining as the soca artists. You understand? How could you win? How could you win soca on entertainment? You can't. You understand? It's two different things. The kind of message that we bring as Calypsonian and Calypso writers, the soca artist has to be non-partisan. He has to take the middle of the road, and he has to try to entertain everybody. So it's quite different.
Right. Bringing it home to Grenada, Larry's explanation and reasoning, regarding maybe the lack of interest and the waning of the tents. Do you think some of these reasons are applicable here in Grenada? Sapan, I think you're muted. You're still muted. Yeah.
Yes. I'm kind of outside, so kind of noisy on the outside. God, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Yeah, no, I was asking you if you think that some of the reasons that Larry gave for the lack of interest and probably additional interest, so to speak, do you think it is applicable here in Grenada as well, considering how much Calypso has, well, I wouldn't say regressed, but the interest in Calypso has regressed, actually, the interest.
I think you need to feed your animal what you want it to be fed. Because my son loves Calypso by force, or by indoctrination, so to speak. So he was born, I was singing Calypso, it was introduced to him. He likes soca, but he prefers Calypso because I fed that to him, right? And he got a real early dose of it, and he likes it. Now, the challenge now is not just him, it's the other kids that might want to sing Calypso, but the avenues are not presented there. So from the cultural foundation standpoint, in every Caribbean territory, this should be a staple on the curriculum or on the plans and programs for cultural development, right? Pump money and resources into the thing and let's get it going. The same thing happens with Still Planet. So I believe that the persons that are responsible for the art form, for the culture, needs to push that a little more. And because if we take the name, if we interchange the names, put Kaiso as soca and soca as Kaiso, Kaiso getting through, So if we call soca Kaiso, it means the stadium full of people listening to Kaiso, right? So again, I'm still going by Larry again, in the corner by Larry, they're saying, look, we have to start to become a little more entertaining, a bit more relevant. Right, we're in an age of 2020 cricket and 2020 everything and short everything. Kaiso soca is 2.5 minutes. Kaiso taking 8 minutes, long and boring, if I may say that. So we have to find a way to reinvent the thing, and at the same time keep it as pure and entertaining as possible. Larry said it is for Kaiso, not just for entertainment but also for attainment. Kaiso is not just for entertainment but also for attainment. When you listen to Kaiso, you have to come off a better thinking person, a better feeling person, a better understanding person. So that's why I believe that we had to go back to the drawing board, get the Kaiso into the schools, and that's where it's important. Get it into the schools, get it into the families. Whatever families we have left, get it into the families. The process could instill it and install it in the kids. That's the only way it would survive. Everybody wants to sing soca now, and forgetting soca is a child like Kaiso. Right, so and it's a challenge. So Larry, I'm with you on that. I want to make you the president of the West Indian Calypso Association.
Right,
it would be a privilege.
Val, anything else you want to ask them?
Just free.
That's all right. I am not in this thing for the money. I've been writing too long for that to be not the main issue. I'm happy where I am learned to be contented.
Nice.
Right.
Godfrey. Godfrey, the man is a contented writer.
That's right. That's right.
Lines.
Question for both Larry and Serpent. So that, would you see yourselves as, are you, as David Waller would say, lyric men, or in terms of melody, chord progression, right? And I say all of that, when talking to probably Leston sometime, you say we probably need to invent in the Caribbean a fake book for Calypso, so that these young people coming through could learn these chord progressions, because you have a number of young people just doing anything vai. So you're saying that we probably need to have a fake book in terms, as they have in jazz and so on, the 12-bar blues progression and so on. We need to have that for Calypso and so on. So do you see yourselves as specifically lyric men, or there's the chord progression melody we a lot more heavily on your side? Which how do you see yourselves? Larry, you can go first.
Well, I see myself mostly as lyrical construct melody as well, because I have seen some melodies this year where people, you can actually, I had on Facebook, you want to tell a weak melody, sing the verse while they sing in the chorus. It's the same chords. Or sing the chorus while they sing in the verse. It's the same chords. But it is just different lyrics, but they are not going anywhere, the melody. And Walter and I find it a very good idea. Let everybody print the chord sheet and let me see what's going on. Mm-hmm. Because what I see passing here for melody is laziness, real laziness, and people are not paying attention to what people are doing. They just, person is charming. They have stage presence. They talk about stage presence and listen. Sometimes I heard an announcer said, I never heard those. He on the radio listening to music every day in Calypso. And he said, I've never listened to those lyrics. I hear it every day. Mm-hmm. People don't listen to the lyrical construct. They don't listen to the melody. They don't realize that some people are just going wrong in a circle, verse and chorus. You could sing back to back because their chord construct is the same. And there's no effort in doing anything different. I heard a beautiful melody this year from a girl in Alo's tent, the review tent, from Fire Impress, I think it's her name. Fire Tender. Mm-hmm. When I heard that melody, I played that song about 4 days straight, because it was different. It was different from what I've been hearing, and these are the things that you should be encouraged.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jillian Moore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Serpent.
Well, I take pride in saying I'm a creative, lyrical, kind of Kaisonian, right? I don't have to have a musical background, but I believe I know what a good melody is. Maybe I cannot construct one, but I think I know what it is, as Larry said. When you hear it, it sounds sweet. It's easy to follow, right? And I've been working on that for the past times. I go on YouTube, I get trained on YouTube and do all kind of things. So when you hear a Kaiso song in sweet, you wouldn't know, right? You don't have to have any doctorate or degree in musical studies to know that. But the melody is just as important as the lyrics in the song and all the other aspects. But for me, I believe the total package is what I like to look at. Because I always look at Croco and try to figure out, how do I score Croco's melody? Together with the poem metering and all that. How do I score Croco's melody? And then how do I score the great Chuck Dust melody? Am I hearing the same thing over and over again? Am I hearing Dubai all the time? How come he wants so much time and he's saying the same Dubai all the time? And then he stay one place on stage and move up his foot. And then Mr. X can win here. And then Serpent is a slouch on stage. And Black Wizard can't do it. So it's real. Sometimes it could confuse you. So that's where I am with this.
Mm-hmm.
Larry.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people ask, why do certain calypsonians not have themselves in concert? And they say, probably their melodies closely resemble each other so much you would know which one is which one. So you would never hear them say they will have so and so in concert. So you can take that to the bank, because that is true. When you hear one, like you hear a second and you hear a third, and there's no deviation, so that you can't be encouraging that. You cannot be encouraging that. You have to encourage people to be creative, so that when you say I'm having let's say no Baron doesn't write a single line, but if Baron is having a Baron in concert, the amount of variety in song he can give, I'm talking about soca or even calypso, he can do it. Sparrow does not write all his songs, but it's Sparrow in concert. The variation and variety of and chord structure and all that, and message and politics and this. I consider these guys complete calypsonians. I don't consider calypsonian because you write your own calypso. I consider you calypsonian when you can do any kind of calypso. Duke, I admire him 100%. He does anything, political, social, party, politics, and variant. When he calls, if he can call it, you can. But it's passed on now. In the Lord rest his soul. But if he calls whenever he calls a Duke concert, people will rush because of the variety. And some calypsonians don't have that.
Right. So,
but could it be? Could it?
When Cohen did No Shade, right? I think he made the final.
Yeah.
Is that would that be considered your first breakout song in terms of the senior one?
Yeah. Yes, because he came from juniors. He came from juniors. He made the finals just coming out of juniors, and the story about him. He started, and he has a beautiful voice. He has everything. I writing for him since he was going to Tranquility Secondary, and I kept writing for him, and then he met this producer who found I was giving him two songs, calypso, and I tried to make the phrase he made. I tried to make him an old man before his time. And Cohen migrated. When I heard from him next, he was doing soca. I said, boy, listen, I speak to him, are you ever going to come and call us? So he said, no.
But before you jump, tell us about No Shade. Tell us about No Shade.
No Shade was it's a song that people, I saw a comment on that on YouTube. Where a woman said she was singing that since she was small, now she's mature. No, she understands the song. She said it's only now I understand the song as I get matured, but she just singing No Shade under the coconut tree, not realizing that it was what the song was actually saying. It was speaking about the same coconut tree that the slaves used to make cookie and broom and to grate and make the sugar cake and all that. You call a club coconut, and you deny people of color on certain nights to come in that club, and you call it Club Coconut. Club Coconuts was a club that denied certain people entry on certain nights. You had Gollywog night, and you had this night, and you had that night. And I found it very intriguing to call a song, to call a club Coconuts. So I said, imagine this coconut tree that brought shade to the African man is now being used against him.
To oppress him.
That was the message of the song. And a lot of people said, that is deep, boy. That is deep. I remember Mighty Trini saying, you've hit them for 6, boy, with that song, because it really touched a lot of people. It touched a lot of people when they understood the significance of the coconut tree to the black man.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So, gentlemen, I tell you what, let's just take a short break. When we come back, I want us to delve a little deeper into the actual writing and constructing of the Kaiso. So, we take a short break. We're going to come back and then we'll go that direction. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment, folks.
The Grenville Cooperative Credit Union introduces its new digital platform, managing your finances at any time from anywhere.
As a part-time student, balancing work and studies can be a real challenge. But with GCCU's digital app, these worries are no more. My parents can now remotely transfer funds to my account and I can check my balance at any time, giving me the freedom to achieve my goals.
My days can be long and tedious. With this app, I can ensure my loan is paid on time, transfer funds to someone else's account, and check my balances. I don't have to rush to do business during my lunch hour or after work anymore.
With this app, I can request checks to pay my suppliers, letters for my business transactions. I don't have to leave my farm to go stand in line.
The Grenville Credit Union digital platform. It's convenient and secure banking right at your fingertips. Download the app today from the Play Store or App Store or call 442-8602, 459-4325 or 416-8467 for further information.
Project Music presents Rhythms of Spice. Sunday, June 1st, 3 p.m., Comahan Park. Featuring student performances Alpha One, Cool Jazz Band, Co-op Band Comancheros, Lion Pride Percussions. Project Music with Tira Etienne, Shireen Brizan, Jeremy Hector, Javon Andrew, and Sonika McKee. With special guests, Hickson from St. Lucia. Get your tickets $60 on sale at Grenadian Optical, Art and Soul, Gittins Pharmacy, Grenville, and Go to Fed. More at the door. Children 12 and under free. Rhythms of Spice, Sunday, June 1st, 3 p.m., Comahan Park. Sponsors Co-op Bank, Renwick & Thompson, Hubbard's, Fire and Foods, Inter-Caribbean, True Blueberry Resort, Acado Grenada, Gabriel's Rentals, Andrews Construction, Supreme Sounds, DJ Danny, GBN, Boss FM, and Real FM. Absolutely no vending.
Attention all divers, snorkelers and underwater enthusiasts. Effective May 15th, 2025, all visitors to the renowned Mullinaire Underwater Sculpture Park will be required to pay a small fee of US $3.50 or EC $10 per person. These fees are essential to support the ongoing maintenance and repairs of the sculptures, as well as the development of new features to ensure the park remains a world-class attraction. Payment can be made through the Grenada Tourism Authority's online payment portal, available on the Pure Grenada website, www.puregrenada.com. We thank you for your support in enhancing this extraordinary underwater product. This announcement is brought to you by the Grenada Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism, dedicated to protecting and conserving Grenada's resources for the enjoyment of all.
The new Grenville Credit Union debit card has made online shopping easier than ever. Quick, secure, and hassle-free. Just tap, pay, and shop with confidence. Get yours today.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Kaiso Talk, and we're chatting with Mr. Larry Haywood from Trinidad, and of course, former Calypso Monarch Chanel Sour Serpent, and of course, Val is here with us. They're writers. We're talking about, the art of writing and everything like that, and we're going to get deeper into that now. And Serpent, I want to start with you this time. So you want to write a Kaiso. Well, of course you're Calypsonians, you getting ready for the season, and you want to pen some Kaisos. So how does this start?
Well, for me, it starts with the conscious and unconscious gathering of information. So my brain is always on auto-compose, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, it scours the environment and figure out what would make sense in that given time. So, for instance, the oil situation is happening here. My brain was zooming into hydrocarbons. What could I say new? What could I say fresh about hydrocarbons? Or I got a little guy unfortunately drunk down yesterday on the beach, or this weekend on the beach. Then my brain has to think somewhere around that. And whatever I find is most relevant to the time, then I start to look for a concept to carry the message in a different way, in a creative way, rather than just say, okay, a guy drunk yesterday, right? And then now I look at it from the audience perspective, from the patron's perspective, from the listener's perspective. How would they receive it? Should I use slight profanity inside the song because kids are listening? No. Who am I reaching out to? Would everybody be able to digest it? Right? So I have persons from the church that tell me, hey, you could sing your calypso in my church, I like your calypso. Because I have given it a 360-degree treatment. So you would not hear obscenity coming through my song, or hints of obscenity coming through my song. I'm not leaving any blank space for curse words and all of that. Because I believe it has to be digestible by all and sundry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And at the end of the day, you start your Kaiso, you introduce your Kaiso, you build on your Kaiso, and you close your Kaiso. So when the listener listens, he gets a complete picture. Make it as palatable as possible for the regular man. I mean, unfortunately, in my case, it doesn't happen all the time. But in a nutshell, that's how I compose. But I don't take a pen and write. If I ever pick up a pen to write, my ideas would have stopped flow. So I would have to compose as I go along in the van, in the garden, and that's it. So I can't sit down and compose a song like that. I say I'm going to write a song on tomato or crab or that. So yeah, basically that's it for me. But it has to make sense. It has to make sense, and it has to appear to make new sense. Mm-hmm. I don't mean new sense like a nuisance, but new sense, fresh sense. Right. So that's how I do it. I mean, and as you said earlier, everything I hear from me is a calypso. Everything I hear is a calypso, and I know nothing about that. I think this came from my grandfather because he used to speak like me. He always had something else to say, and he was very, very, very prophetic in many ways.
Right.
So yeah, basically that's how I go about.
Yeah. Let me ask though. So in your composing, I mean, as your ideas flow, and you probably, you get them, they flow, you put it together, but after that, you're not happy, you're not satisfied. How do you go about making the adjustments? Because so let's say we're talking about this accident that happened this afternoon, and you find a creative way you want to do it, but then of course it's a little unpleasant, it's sad, all of that, and you're not happy, and you want to go back and make it a little more palatable, as you mentioned, easier to digest. How is that? How do you decide then, look, no, this is not what I want. I want to do something different. I think that might resonate better with the listeners, with the judges.
This depends on the skill and the wisdom of the writer. The skill and the wisdom of the writer. There are some things that I would have said in calypso that I did not say. I'll take it again. There are some things that I would have said in a calypso that I did not say. So you don't have to say something to say something.
Right.
And you have to be so creative that you could stab a man with a ripe banana, so to speak. You could kill a cow with a ripe banana. and I know Larry would know exactly what I am talking about. Chris the Riggs told me once, I was talking to him about some calypso had singing one verse, and he said, the quality of a writer is not seen in what he produces, but what is left in his wastebasket. But what is left in his wastebasket. So sometimes you have to put your songs in order of importance or value. So you might have 6 songs, but you know your top 2 is about chillaxing and fish, and the other one is about crabs and roti or whatever it is. So, but that's how it is for me. But when you get a concept, for me, a song is a concept. Once I have a concept, I have a song, because the actual composition now is easy for me. You get a great concept and you write towards it, and that would be the song right there. I don't write topics at all. I have never done a topic yet. In 20 years, over 40, 60 songs, I've never done a topic. I've always done a concept, a creative concept that carry the message. And as Larry said, everything we're going to sing about is there already. Just finding a creative way to reintroduce it into the mindset of the listeners.
Okay, wonderful. Larry, same question. How do you go about it? The actual construction and composing.
And composing, first of all, I don't particularly like imposing my ideas on singers. As much as they would come to me and say, I would like to sing about so and so. And we sit down and have a discussion. Now you may tell me what you want. Let me hear what you want to say. But then again, I have to put it in a way that is palatable, and it is not just ordinary language. So that I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to try my best to put it over in a way that people are going to realize it is not just an editorial. It's not just something you just write in the newspaper. So that the closer you can get to what the person wants, and the person see what you are bringing to them, it makes your work easier. I don't like writing outside of them. When you write outside of a person, they tend to not put it over the way it's supposed to be put over, and you can't get 100% out of them.
Right.
Another thing as well is that I always believe that a song is not written, it's always rewritten. You have to look at this. You have to look at the song, and you have to decide. Listen, I think I better rewrite this. Right. I think I better rewrite this because I don't like the angle it's taking. So that most of the times your writing is in your head. I don't go on just write. Most of my writing is in my head.
Yes.
Before I even think about paper, somebody come to me and I sit down and I talk with you, and we talk for about 45 minutes or an hour, and then I say okay, and they will call me next 2-3 days, and I haven't written a line, but if you tell me, can I have it in 3 days time, it's already in my head.
Right.
Yes.
Head. So that putting it to paper is not difficult because it's already there. A lot of people feel that you need to write. You don't need to write once it's there, formulating in your head. So I spend a lot of time with music in my head, lyrics in my head, and punchlines in my head. What I would want to say in this verse. What would I want to focus on in the second verse and stuff like that? That's what's going through my head all the time. I don't write. I assimilate a lot of thoughts in my head, and I decide, listen, what? And then again, a lot of people are missing out that calypso came out of the era of call and response. Fire brigade, water the road. Fire brigade, so that there was always participation by the audience. A lot of people write outside of the audience, right? I try not to write outside of the audience. I try to get participation in both the singer and the audience. So that you get a full blow of you get involved as well. So you and all as an audience have to feel the song, So I try to bring that all into perspective when I'm writing. All right. Another thing I pay attention to is the melody, my rhyme scheme. I think that couplets are for children. I might do couplets now and then, but my whole song is not going to be couplets which first line rhyming, second line. I try to avoid that kind of thing because that is how I teach people to write when they are now starting to write. You do your couplets and so on. But when you get into real serious writing, artistical writing, you try to do different things. You do triplets, you do quadruplets, you do internal rhyming, you do inner outer rhyming, you do all sorts of different things. And I try to bring all of that into perspective when I'm writing. But most of the time, it's in my head, and then I start to formulate on paper, right? So that, and it's very easy to follow. Once you picked up, I know there are some people, when I used to write for Corinne Ashley, Corinne never needed any pen and paper. She would just listen, and she would just pick up, and she said, okay, I get it, and that's it. And she was young. She was about 12, 13 years, you know? So some people have the art of picking up and feeling what you are actually feeling and can put it over.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let me ask.
That's how I do my writing.
Right.
So that if I'm close, I don't have songs to put down. Somebody can say, "You have a song there?" I never have a song there.
Right.
You know, I always communicate with the person who wants to song.
Yes.
You know?
Right. Before
I have a discussion.
Yeah, Val. Before I bring you in, one other thing though, and both yourself and Serpent, you write for different people, right? And you said, Larry, that you like to talk to people, before you actually do stuff. Let me ask the both of you: have you ever maybe got hit by something, an idea, a concept? And you have that thing in your head, and you now have to determine, boy, that one, I ain't find Big J go do justice to this one. I won't give maybe Randy, or I might give Moti that. Or have you guys been in a situation and have to try to determine, because of that idea or concept you have, you now have to decide which Calypsonian would do justice to it? I don't know which of you want to go first.
So go first.
Yeah, well, good question, because every Kaisuan has their own identity and style. So, for instance, what I would give Big J, I would not give royalty, because I give Big J, they don't like my voice. He has a big coarse voice. Like, you remember that? He came
Yes.
They don't like my voice. He has a big voice. So you blame him not being doing too well because of his voice. But I couldn't give royalty that because royalty has a wonderful voice. You know? So, yeah, I think we have to compose for people individually. And I think the same thing happens with Larry, because sometimes when Larry gets an idea, if he gets an idea, he says, that song like Karen Boy, or that song like Brian, or that song like Sparrow. So, yeah, you have to write to the person. And I believe that's the only way to go. Or else they would not be able to give 100% if the song is not for them. And if they don't own the song, they will not be able to give 100.
Right. Larry?
Yeah, I think, I say I'm guilty of that, because sometimes I may go and visit a friend or one of my singers, or they may come by me and they may come and say, well, what topics you have? Let me hear. What topics you have? And I will start to call out topics, the topic that I have in my head, and they'll say, I like that one. And when that song is finished, you realize,
they can't handle it.
They can't handle that. But then again, you promise. I have to try to start to correct that. I have to start to correct that, because a lot of people say, you waste a lot of songs every year, or you waste a lot of songs. And
yes.
I seem to want to think that it, but then again, if I do that, the money is going to increase, and they're going to say, oh boy, you're getting greedy, boy. Because you start to win this and you start to win that. So I end up leaving them with this song, but I think that I ought not to be mentioning all my topics to you, if to be choosing one, that kind of thing. But
you cannot decide, what may suit.
I have to be honest enough to tell you what I have. You know what I mean? But then again, I think I don't know if I should allow you to choose, but that's what happens.
Right.
And it has been happening for a number of years. As a matter of fact, I, at one time I had 6 songs in the juniors, in the finals, and 6 different names, writers, and eventually found out it was me. And people started to get on board and say that is happening again. And they start asking who the writer, and they start watching me when I come to audition to see if I sing any song, and kind of things. So that, it's troublesome when you do the amount of writing that I do. Because every year I am crossing 20 songs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to hide. You try to, because people find that you want this region, you want Tonapuna, you want Kuva, you want Mayaro, you want Sawo, you want Aruka, and they get upset.
Mm-hmm.
And I try my best not to upset people.
Right.
So I try to hide.
Val,
I need to start channeling my work and giving the right people the right song. But sometimes they feel that I am being unfair to them when I do not give them the song that I don't think is suited to them, But
right. We may have to start to expand your clientele, and incorporate Grenada into that. So we're going to be calling you soon.
Godfrey, don't go there.
All right.
Godfrey, don't go there. I mean, look at our attire this evening now. Larry and you are on the same team.
Val,
I know, but I could just say I just finished a song. I just finished a song for a guy in Antigua. I have 2 songs, 2 people in Antigua. So that and then I have to go to Tobago Heritage. So there's little or no rest for me. But I try my best to share what knowledge I have. I remember in the early days before I began to write. In the 70s, I played for All Stars, and the arranger, the tuner of the band, guy, I don't want to call his name, but he's passed on now. If he's tuning a pan, you come close, he will stop. He will stop tuning until you move, and he died with all of his skill and talent. And I don't want to do that. I really want to share, because you're not supposed to be burying your talent.
Right.
So I share whatever goodness God has given to me. I share that. I am not going to be selfish, so that people find I write too much, but it's something to be so.
Right. Val, you want to jump in here?
Yeah. Question again for both Larry and Serpent. In a conversation I had with Zando Lee, he always told me about the opening line. So because you both said that it's not about writing anything down, but keeping it in your head and massaging it and so on before it comes out. Zando told me about him writing Man Family. He said he had all the ideas. He knew exactly what he wanted to say, but he didn't have an opening line, until he had a discussion with Sparrow, who gave him Millicent, like you take me for Mickey Mouse, the way you bring in man in my house. He said, Val, once I get that, he said the song finished. And of course, he came from that generation where they never wrote anything. There was no paper trail or anything. So tell me, are opening lines important for both of you? Larry?
Very, very important. Open lines are very important. You hit it on the head. Sometimes you talk to people and they give you an open line that you were missing. Sometimes you go down the road and you see somebody with a T-shirt on and have some writing on it, and I always read people's T-shirt. They want to know what I'm reading, but sometimes ideas come from T-shirts, that kind of stuff like that. So I read it. You hit it on the head. It doesn't always come to you direct. Sometimes it comes from people. It comes from reading. It comes from a T-shirt. It happens all the time.
Yeah. So when you appropriate a line, you give credit for it?
If I could find a guy with a jersey, If a guy with a jersey, of course.
I'm just being facetious.
Well, yeah, the first line, the stage for the Kaiso. First 2 lines, this open line set the stage for the Kaiso, and then you could spring from that. Because sometimes some Kaiso lines they will hear they play around for 6 lines, 6, 8 lines trying to find a first line. So if you could grab the attention of the listener with the first two lines. Let us suppose they pass a law. They don't want people living here anymore.
Right.
You know, so that's great lines. That thing. So the first two, and as Spoilo said, Zando, whatever name you call it.
Zando.
Zando. Once you get the first two lines, you're gone. That's it.
You build on that. Yeah.
Once you get started, you're good to go. And if you're a pretty good writer, once you get started line, you're good to go. You know.
Excellent.
Great. So, Larry, you've written a number of songs for juniors and so on, or songs in general. Is there any particular songs that stay with you, you have a large catalog of songs? Which songs that you have written have stayed with you the most?
The one the junior song that stayed with me.
Both junior and senior, yeah.
All right, the junior song that stayed with me is the one that Corinne did when she sang "Since You've Been Gone." When her father left and so on, and that was the first time I'm writing for her, and I did not know that her father had actually been separated from their mother, and it was kind of true life kind of story that she was telling, that since you've been gone, life is not the same, and so on, and I did not recognize, and sometimes that happens, you write a song, but that one stayed with me. As you said, my breakout song in seniors was Corinne Dubois, "No Shade Under the Coconut Tree." As a matter of fact, a lot of people didn't think I wrote that song, but it had to be corrected eventually and say, I wrote a song, but I usually kind of take a low profile because of as I said, the number of songs I do. I did songs this year that people don't even know I did. Last year is the same thing. You always have to give them wrong numbers because a judge saw me in a rehearsal for Skinner Park and said, "How much songs you have done at Skinner Park?" I don't tell people that, because he, as a judge, wanted to find out how many songs I had in Skinner Park and telling me that it's a composers competition, that kind of thing, because they believe that calypso is for calypso writers, and we still have that problem in Trinidad where people who don't write their own calypso are not calypsonians, and therefore they are looked down upon. And therefore, some singers even want to tell me, "Let me stick a line inside of your writing so I can be considered co-writer." No. I say, "No, that can't happen." That can happen. So that that it happens sometimes, so that they look down on you. As a matter of fact, when this guy died, King Austin, and they asked a particular old-time singer, but he's passed on now. They asked him, "What do you think about King Austin?" He said, "He was a good renderer." Call him a renderer. He never called him a calypsonian. But he did not write his own songs. And that is a problem that we're having in Trinidad. And nobody asked Marcel or anybody who writes soca, who wrote your soca? Because that's not a problem, But it's the problem in calypso.
Right.
So you say that Corinne song and
yes, Corinne song, "Since You've Been Gone." I did one for Erica Reed, but nobody knows about that song. Where she was, I wrote that song. I don't know what frame of mind I was in, but I wrote that song, and it said that she was so pleased to be on the other side. She had passed on, and she was so pleased to be on. There were angels welcoming her on the other side, and she don't understand why people were crying and stuff like that, and she had so much in a better place. And people thought, where you get that morbid song from? They found it was so it was so much dreary, because you're talking about death as though it's something glorious and wonderful and angels rejoicing and so on. We don't want to hear that. We want to live. You know what I mean? So but I found that song was, to me, real.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, in your catalog of songs, which ones resonate with you the most? 20 odd years of writing.
I have a few. My first final was A Message from the Grave.
Yeah.
A Message from the Grave. That song even caught me by surprise, because I didn't realize that that song got into the bones and the flesh of the people. So that the magical night was in Tantine, and you could have heard a pin drop. And all Shorty and them and the Carnage Godfrey, Shorty and all them fellas and them.
And that was your first final. You were basically new kid on the block at the time.
Yes, that was my first final.
Yeah.
From the grave. And I did the complexion of Calypso. I came through to that Kaiso, but the complexion of Kaiso, it insinuated that too many fair-skinned people judging Kaiso. Too many dark-skinned people judging Kaiso. And indeed, the judging panel was made up of primarily dark-skinned people. So we wanted some fair judges. We want some fair judges in Kaiso. And so we need to change the complexion of Kaiso.
Larry just borrowed that, yeah? All right, go ahead.
Larry, we're going to be listening to Trinidad Calypso to see if we hear that, yeah? We're going to be listening.
Right. Yeah, I know. I saw that you borrowed that.
Something like that, yeah.
We're going to be listening to Trinidad.
And I just thought I don't think sometimes, that will go over person's head. So it was this two, and the one I won with, not called Buju. Two wrongs make a right. Larry? There was this feud between the government and the union over some industrial issue. So the GUT, the Union of Teachers, they strike for about 3 weeks. So no school, no games, nothing. So I said two wrongs. Both of them were wrong. So that's why I had to write. So two wrongs made a right.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the three songs that really stood with me. Mm-hmm. Two wrongs made a right. Message from the Grave. And change the complexion of Kaiso. Yeah, basically that.
Yeah. But I could tell you, after this year, you go add another two to it. But anyway,
I didn't get that.
No, I said after this season, you're going to have two more songs that would resonate with you.
Well, you can tell me what it is, You can be,
Larry, he has a record in Grenada for coming fourth in competition, huh? He's known. He probably come the most fourth already. So we're gonna deal with that later on in a couple of months. But gentlemen, we're practically out of time. But before we go, Serpent, in next Saturday you'll be launching. Tell us a little bit about that while we're here. Just to share a bit with us on that.
It will be a fantastic event. It will be an event for Calypso lovers. It's only about 6 weeks ago, myself and Big G decided to do a launch, because when we went to the studio and we heard this song, we said, no, them songs too bad, in our view. So we planned a launch. So it's on the 7th of next month at Lassages Plainfield on the hard court. And we've brought back Smallies, the great Smallies, and Squeezy, big, bad Squeezy, and of course the hilarious, humorous, and witty Darius. So they'll be coming to give the audience pleasure. We also have my son, Christian Muti here, who's a 3-time Trinidad Monarch. He'll be appearing. We have Shamak, who has made a transition from soca into Kaiso. We have Toka Kaiso, who start off with, and we have Extempo, right? And a good partner, Brian, say he might take the trip, Brian London. So hope he'll be here. They get Lick from Powder and them other boys. But in a sense, it would be a real treat for Kaiso lovers, and it would be a real plug for the culture. So I hope Larry and them will come and spend a good 5 hours. Godfrey will send it to us.
Oh, definitely so. So yeah, gentlemen, we out of time. Larry, anything you want to share with us in closing? Your final words.
Well, I didn't do anything for people in Green a long while, so it's been a couple of years now. So, but so you have no fear. I am now going to Antigua, But it's been nice talking about Calypso with people who know about Calypso and who wants to see something done about Calypso. I agree with Serpent. We got to shorten that 8 minute long, but the limit now is 8 minutes, and I have to watch my length as well, so that we can accommodate more people and more city, because I was told that people don't listen to any 8-minute song anymore, not even 7 minutes. So we need to restructure and bring our message in the shortest possible time and still be entertaining. I don't think we should go as short as soca, but because soca is, as you know, the main aim is to entertain. As I said in one of my songs this year, one of my singers sang, the main aim is to entertain, and our main focus is really to educate and inform. You know, so that we spared a little more length than soca. You know, soca can stay with its 4 minutes, and we can go a little 5, a little 6. You know, but get the message across. So that I want to encourage other writers, don't give up. You know, you start off small, as I said before. Your first 100 songs, mistakes, trial and error, and so on. After that, you're good to go. You know, so don't give up when you're writing at all like that, because your writing started in school when you were doing composition, essay writing, that they call in school. You write essays. You started that way. You can take your stories and start to rhyme and start to put words together. Try something, because we are getting down in age, and we cannot go without imparting our knowledge to others.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Serpent, your closing, your final words?
Well, Larry always stealing my thoughts. But I just want to say that I want to commend the program, because without that program, nobody would be hearing me and Larry and you know, at this point in time. So let us keep Calypso like burning. Support good Kaiso, because it is still a part of a rich cultural tradition. It is remnants of a tainted past, if you want to call it that. It is a way of the layman, the common newspaper. It is there to entertain, but more for attainment. It's there to educate and to inform. Let me keep it alive. Let me keep it growing. And with platforms like yours, composers like Larry, and maybe to myself as a lesser extent, with persons like that passing the baton on, Kaiso would be alive and well going forward.
Yes, indeed. Val, your final words.
Well, I'm simple. I think that you know, I appreciate the fact that we had both Larry and Sean Niles Serpent on this evening to talk about Kaiso and its writing. You know, I'm certain that the listening audience got both a mouthful and air and enough to chew on. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming on, and thank you for sharing everything. Larry, I know you borrowed that line from Serpent, so I will listen carefully. You know, because of the color Calypso, I'm sure you got something there. So I'm listening, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks.
Yes,
all
right. Yes, indeed, gentlemen. You know, Larry, thank you so much. You know, for accepting the invitation. And of course, we're looking forward to having you back, because it's Kaiso Talk, and there is so much more we can talk about. You know, when it comes to Kaiso, but we don't want to go on and on. We want to keep people wanting more, and so we'll definitely be having you back. Serpent, I hope next week you and some of your team can join us on the program to talk more about your launch, and of course, as we get closer into Grenada Carnival, we'll be hearing more and more Kaiso. I don't want to have to be drawing for Calypso, because Big J might not like that. So you know, actually there's a Kaiso. So we're looking good, Val. We're looking good. So I think Legends in Concert is in a very good place in 2025. We're looking
definitely.
Yes. So we're looking forward to maybe hopefully having Serpent back, Big J, and some of the other Calypsonians to chat with us, you know, about it, and of course what is going to be happening going forward. So gentlemen, thank you very much, and of course we're looking forward to next Wednesday for more Kaiso Talk. Have a good night. All the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Good night, guys.
Night.